Bucks. Go Bucs. Hey, hey, Tampa Bay, the Bucs know how to shine. Hey, hey, Tampa Bay, the
To
Bucs
have shine.
we're in trouble, that's okay. We can pull it out because we know we're on the
Oh, yes.
stand up and shout.
Oh, yes, and we know how to shout very well, ladies and gentlemen, as we're getting ready
Tampa Bay,
for a big game coming up this weekend.
hey, hey, Tampa
One
Bay,
game away from the big game. And yes, we will give a cheer for the Buccaneers. There you go. We finally got that out of the way. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Animal Football Insider, coming at you from the great confines, cold confines, I should say, of Western Moines, Iowa, where it is very cold. It is very kind of windy and kind of snowy, and we'll talk about all that in just a minute. Got a great show coming up for you, including an interview that I did earlier today with a good friend of mine who worked at the Buccaneer Radio Network. And but before we do all that, I thought I'd take this opportunity, take a minute here and bring up somebody that, because you all know that we talk a lot about the Florida Gators and all. And of course, their season has finally come to an end, and now they get ready for 2021. Somebody that knows a little bit about the Florida Gators. He writes for Gatorbait Magazine and one of the well-respected journalists, not just in the SEC, but in all of college football. It's a fantastic one, Mr. Franz Beard. How are you, sir?
Another day here in paradise. It's we had 70-degree weather and sunshine today.
Oh, please. Yeah, you're really going to rub it in.
Wear the sweater because it's cold.
Oh, so cold. Son, you have no idea what cold. Come up here to Des Moines, Iowa for a week. Then you'll get back and appreciate 70-degree weather.
I do not go north of Atlanta after November 1st.
Yeah, and speaking of Atlanta, oh man, with that, that was not a pretty sight.
Well, there's a lot of.
Well, let me take that back. It actually was kind of a pretty sight because when you stop and think about it, given the way this Florida Gator team have played throughout the course of the season, to lose, and we know that they lost, and no excuse for a loss. But for instance, the way they played, I thought they played darn well.
Well, here's the thing: is Florida's the only team out of the 13 Alabama played that played the Crimson Tide within a single possession. So there's something to be said about what the Gators did in that game. Offensively, Florida was the equal or better than any team in the country except maybe Alabama.
Right.
Alabama, you'd give the edge because of the running back, and you can say what you want about, okay, they had Devontae Smith and Florida didn't. But Florida's receivers took a backseat for nobody, to nobody, and but Najee Smith, they the difference as an offensive, as far as offensive skill players, they had a better offensive line than the Gators. But when you add it all together, it was.
Go ahead.
It's a great ball game. I enjoyed the ball game, particularly the way the Gators came back. They played a good ball game. You look at this. They have a 15-yard face mask penalty that hurt.
Yep.
They had a penalty for a false start that hurt.
Yep.
They had a penalty for illegal participation when Kyrie Campbell slowed down and couldn't get off the line. Couldn't get it off. They had four little simple things.
Simple things. And it's like, what happened. And then all of a sudden, when they get into the postseason bowl game, you had all these guys decide to leave 2 days before the game ended. And, I don't know how much of that you put on Dan Mullen. I don't know how much you put on that with the players. There's just a lot to say about all that. Which brings us to the conversation tonight, and that's Todd Grantham and his future. I mean, I am shocked. I'm shocked right now that he is still with this team.
Well, he's been, this was the first year that Todd has not had that he's been with Dan. Was his fourth year with Dan, and this was the first year that there wasn't a top 10 defense. They made some changes, particularly to the secondary. And I don't think there's that old saying, you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
And I think that they perceived that they needed to make some changes, and maybe the shakeup will be good for them. Yeah. I do know this, that if there is not improvement in the defense this year, Todd Grantham won't be here for the 2022 season. But I can't say that I don't think necessarily that you would get rid of Grantham. I think you maybe you read him the riot act. That's probably a good way to do it. Start and you say, bring in some people, make some changes. We've done that. There's still a position that's open. Wesley McGriff has taken the cornerbacks coaching job.
And they were going, and I thought they were going to go after Charlie Strong, but
they're going after Charlie Strong. That's not dead.
Oh, really?
No, that's not dead. And it may be closer to reality that he'd come to Florida now than it was, because Alabama stood to lose its co-defensive coordinator to Missouri.
Uh-huh.
But Missouri had a sudden change, let's say, that Steve Wilkes, the former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, has taken the job as Missouri's defensive coordinator now.
I saw that today.
And so that means that Alabama's defensive staff is probably going to remain intact. So that means that Charlie either stays another year as an analyst, he goes with Urban, and I have to believe that if he was going to be with Urban, that would already have been announced. Chris Ash is going there. We know that already. If Charlie were going to go there, given the closeness of the relationship between him and Urban Meyer, I have to think that would already have been announced. But there has been no announcement. I think that Charlie Strong is very much in play. Dan's been making a serious play for him. And let's see what happens.
And the story I'm getting about that is the only way that happens is in a quote co-defensive coordinator position. Now that should happen. Would Todd Grantham be acceptable to that? I mean, you know what I'm saying here. I mean, would Todd welcome it? Would he not welcome it?
When you're being paid $1.8 million a year, and there are no other opportunities currently to go out and make $1.8 million a year, and your boss says, "Look, I know I'm paying you $1.8 million a year, but you're going to have to take on somebody as the co-coordinator, and if you don't like it, you could say your sayonaras and clean out, get some cardboard boxes and clean out your office."
Yeah.
Given those circumstances and given that kind of ultimatum, you say, I always dreamed of being a co-coordinator. It's always been exactly what I wanted to do. And and if the boss says kiss his tush, you kiss his tush.
Right. Great. And that's a great point. You're making the money, you got to do what the boss tells you. Go find another job. Maybe go to McDonald's where you can get free hamburgers and maybe even money in the bag. But that's another story we'll talk about in just a couple of minutes. So.
$1.8 million a year is nice work if you can get it.
Especially for a school like the University of Florida. How serious was Dan Mullins in the NFL? How serious really was that?
He listened, He did exactly what Urban Meyer always did. He did exactly what Steve Spurrier has always done. And he did exactly what really intelligent coaches do all the time. It's like Nick Saban. Nick Saban, people say, well, he's content at Alabama. Yes, he is. But Nick Saban gives the courtesy to listen to anybody. If you're coming to offer him a job, he gives you the courtesy of listening to you. And most of the really great coaches do that. I don't blame them. I would too. You don't know what kind of leverage you have with your own crew until somebody else is offering you a job. When
That would,
somebody, when
yeah. I
some,
mean, looking at that from that perspective, I think I could understand why Dan did all that. I mean, the job's coming for you. If they're coming for you, at least want to listen. So I mean, I can buy that perspective. I can really buy that perspective. Franz Beard, the writer for Gatorbait.com, longtime sports journalist, not just in the state of Florida, but also in college football. One of the more well respected people in the business. And speaking of business, recruiting wise, Gators have some recruiting coming. They're not done with recruiting yet, and from
no.
what I understand, there may be a couple of nice acquisitions here if things fall into place.
Well, they've got a couple guys that they're still very, very much involved with in the transfer portal. Um, for all the talk about Eric Gilbert, there is an awful lot of talk about Eric
Yes,
Gilbert
I'm hearing about that.
going to Georgia. I got to believe if he were going to be at Georgia, we'd already know it. Um, I think one of two things, just my opinion, one of three things will happen. He'll either go to Georgia, which I find less and less a possibility with each passing day. He'll either come to Florida, which I think, given that Tim Brewster has coached two or three Mackey Award winners, including the most recent one, Kyle Pitts. And the third would be to return to LSU. And you look at what LSU's put together, and LSU, I don't think is going to necessarily lose him. Right now, I would say it's going to be, say, 40% to return to LSU, 40% to come to Florida, and 20% to come to Georgia. That's just a guess. I could be
Yeah,
wrong. I could be wrong, and you may find it's hard to believe. I've been wrong before.
no, not you, France.
Sure.
You're the king. You're the king. You're the top dog when it comes to recruiting. Come on now. Uh,
Uh, I wish.
speaking of which, I mean, there's been a lot of Dan's come under fire here because at least on Twitter, from everything I'm seeing, is that that Dan cannot effectively recruit, that he gets his guys through the transfer portal. But the way
Yep.
I see it, you get it any way you can, right?
Recruiting is recruiting. Whether you get, you look at how can people complain about getting guys through the transfer portal when you think of Van Jefferson and Trevon Grimes, for example. They did pretty good. They were in the transfer portal, wouldn't you
The
say?
thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Justin Shorter came this year. He's going to be a stud next year. He's going to have a really big year. That's another one that came in the transfer
I
portal.
like shorter. I like shorter. But
Brenton Cox Jr. I think, is going to have an All-American season next year. Um, Lorenzo Lingard, battled through all kinds of health issues this year, starting with the COVID virus and high ankle sprain. And I think we saw, just with one burst in there in the Cotton Bowl, I think anybody who's smart would say, "Oh my gosh!" And you got DeMarcus Bowman coming in from Clemson. That's five.
oh, oh, tell the people about this kid because I know he's a running back and I hear he is outstanding.
Well, he's from Lakeland, and Lakeland's produced some pretty good football players over the year. In case anybody fails
Yeah,
to remember,
yeah.
the Pounceys, Ahmad Black, Chris Rainey, all from Lakeland.
Yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
great football school. Bill Castle, one of the truly great high school football coaches in the entire country. I have to wonder what's going to happen to Lakeland when Castle retires. I mean, Bill's been the head coach there for 40 something years, and
Excuse me.
um, he's not a spring chicken anymore. So
No.
I gotta wonder how long he's going to be the head coach. But Demarcus Bowman is electric. He's a guy that when the ball goes in his hands, you know, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a guy named Greg Pruitt at Oklahoma, and on the front of his
Right.
jersey he wrote "Hello," and on the back of his jersey where the name went, it said "Goodbye."
That's good. I like that. I like that.
And Demarcus Bowman is a kid like that. You might as well have "Hello" and "Goodbye" written on there.
Yeah.
They've also had picked up a couple other transfers already. They picked up a place kicker, which they had to have, Jace Christensen from Mississippi State,
What about that? What about that?
a guy who's the school's all-time leading scorer. Um, and they picked him up. They picked up big uh, nose tackle Penn
Oh,
State.
yeah, yeah. I forget.
6'3", about 320 pounds,
Yes,
and just a guy that eats up the run. So yeah,
yes.
here's the thing. People can complain and they say, "Well, he's not getting the 5-star freshman." Well, guess what? I just ripped off a bunch of names to you, and
Yeah.
every one of them was a 5-star guy.
And
And
here's the thing, and I think here's the thing that a lot of people have to remember that just because you have 5-star players in coming out of high school, don't mean they're going to be 5-star players in college football. We've seen that happen time and time again.
there are a lot of guys who bust as 5
Oh
stars.
man,
You know, I mean, my goodness. It, the thing that bugs me about recruiting rankings, and um, I find it hard to believe that guys who never played the game, they may have played, a powder, played as, as on the scout team for the Powder Puff girls team, or they played in a pickup game in phys ed or something. Um, you got these guys working for recruiting services, and 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 I laugh when I hear these guys. Oh, this guy's at NFL. I compare his game
I know, I know,
right
I
now
know,
to Aaron Rodgers. Are
I
you
know,
kidding me?
I know,
You
I
know,
know. Man, it's just amazing.
give me a break. Let the guy get on campus, and then let's see. I mean, you got to remember something. Kyle Trask came to Florida.
Mm.
Uh,
I was about to say that. I mean, I believe he was a 3-star
He
coming
was
to
it was a
Florida,
two it
and
was a
look,
2 star.
was he 2-star?
They gave
Wow,
him the third because he came to Florida, and they
wow.
figured that's why they did. Mac Jones got his third star because he signed with Alabama. He wasn't a 3 star. He was a 2 star recruit out of Jacksonville Bulls. How'd that work out? That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
I know, I know.
But you get guys like that and the NFL's loaded up with guys who are uh, overachievers, underachievers, you name it. You find them all, and
And for some, you don't need to give them a McDonald's bag.
no,
It,
oh
I
gosh,
swear, I'm sitting here and I'm hearing all this. And for those that don't know don't know what we're talking about, briefly let's tell you what's going on at the University of Tennessee, whereby this week they made some changes. Jeremy Pruitt is out as head coach. Longtime Tennessee coach and athletic director Phil Farmer, we quote resigned, but we know what that was all about. And then because Tennessee's under NCAA investigation, and now Dan Patrick reports, I believe on yesterday, that the Tennessee coaches were giving recruits money out of McDonald's bags.
well, that's what they say. You deserve a break today.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's like what
Uh,
they couldn't
that,
handle. They could not handle this any.
well, Well, the other question is, did they say we love to see you smile when they handed it to him?
I tell you, man, that's gonna be ugly indeed. What can we expect? I know you got to go because you got going on with Buddy Martin here in just a little bit. What give us an insight on any news that we can expect coming down the pikeway in terms of Florida football here
No,
in the next week or two?
I think there's going to be a new coach added to the staff within the next 3 days. I kind of expected it might be Tuesday, but I think they've been waiting to see with Charlie Strong, and I think Charlie was waiting to see what was happening at Alabama. So I feel that we're going to have an announcement within the next 2 or 3 days. Um, One name that keeps popping up, and it's a name I like, is a guy named Corey Sanders, who coaches the
Yes,
safeties at Pitt, and really interesting connection to the state of Florida. He was the defensive coordinator when the University of West Florida took up football
well,
in
I remember that.
2015,
Wow,
2015. And I think people remember, but in like their second year of playing football at the collegiate level, they made the Division II national championship game, and they won it in 2019 as well. So he's a guy with a really nice pedigree. He's worked his way up from high school to through Division One. Through Division Two and NAIA football. Um, I like guys like that because they're hungry and they
right,
feel and they're out there. They come from humble backgrounds and they're hungry and they haven't had they haven't been spoon fed their career.
right,
And I like a guy like that.
yeah.
And those guys tend to those guys get in living rooms. And and here's the other thing that I like when they do get in that living room. They can tell the parents of a kid, look, I came up the hard way. I didn't nobody gave me anything. I worked my butt off. You're coming to the University of Florida. I started out at St. Joseph's in Indiana, NAIA school.
And yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
which meant that I was on a partial scholarship. I had to take out student loans and everything like this. And you're coming here as at the University of Florida, where they're going to give you an iPad to take your classes on. You're going to get a computer for your room. You're going to given all these clothes and shoes and gear. You're going to get a $4,500 a year stipend
Yeah.
in addition to your Pell Grant, which is about $6,000 a year,
Mm.
and you're going to get food. You're going to get all these other things. I think a guy like that can really sell. And I think that if Florida winds up with him, I think Florida will be fortunate. I'd love to see Charlie Strong come, but if we don't get Charlie Strong, I'd love to see Corey Sanders. I think he'd be a great addition.
Yeah, I hope so too. And let's keep our eyes on that, and let's hope the Gator basketball team can turn things around.
Yeah.
They played well. That was shocking to see that happen the other day. Hey, listen, I know you got to go. Get ready for Buddy Martin. Tell him I said hello, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate
I
that.
appreciate it too. God
Thank
bless
you,
you. God bless you, and God bless everybody listening. And have a great day.
thank you, friends. Please stay safe.
I will do.
Thank you, friends. That is Franz Beard joining me tonight on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. Of course, we have Susan Cunningham, Cody Barber has joined me as well. Say go pack go. You had to say that, didn't you? Yeah, I'm kind of shocked and appalled that you wanted to say that. Ah, jeez. What am I going to do with you, pack people? Okay. All right. Let me take this off. Let me put this on. Well, and that's the reason why I'm doing that, because as you all know, this is a show where we watch. Well, I'm a diehard Buccaneer fan. Like to talk about these boys right here. Got this shirt on right now, and of course, we're ready for the big game coming up Sunday afternoon, 2:05 Central Time, 3:05 Eastern, as the Buccaneers will take on the Green Bay Packers. And what's going to be an exciting game. Make no mistake about it. And I want to get this ready here because I haven't because there's something that I'm going to do here, and I'm going to bring this up and then go here, and then I'm going to do this right here. Because the reason why, because earlier this afternoon, I had the earlier this afternoon had the opportunity to go on one-on-one with my good friend Ronnie Nitrate Lane from down in Tampa. He hosts a Buccaneer radio show, post-game show on the Buccaneer Radio Network. Good friend of mine, and we chatted a little bit, talked about the game that's coming up this weekend. Now, I want to apologize in advance for the audio because there's some feedback, and unfortunately, we couldn't get it fixed. But hopefully, you can bear through it, and then we'll come back in just a minute because we have another guest we want to talk about to expand. But earlier today, went on one-on-one with my good friend Ronnie Nitrate Lane, if I can pull him up here. And let's see here, full screen layout here. And I had a chance to talk to him, and here's how that conversation went. And here we go. And we're joined right, if this thing will just stop right now by the voice of one of the voices. Issue to people, what can you say? The Tampa Bay Buccaneer radio broadcasting team. He does a post-game show. He used to do the locker room back in the past, and of course he had the pleasure of working with me from time to time. We're talking about my good friend Ronnie Nitrate Lane of 620 WDAE. And Ronnie, always a pleasure to talk to you. I don't know if I got the call signs right though.
No, that's close enough. 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. You got it.
It's been a while since I've been in Florida, so I forgot that you guys now do the 95 and 620, and I think that's great. Well, you know, for the first time in quite a long time, the Buccaneers are back, or just one game away from the NFC Championship. Well, not one game. Yeah, one game away. Okay, I'm going to stop this. Playing in the Super Bowl.
They are. 18 years ago, they were playing in the NFC Championship game. I was there, rolling the sidelines, and of course, that was the game at the Vet in Philadelphia where Rondé Barber picked off Donovan McNabb and returned it some 80 yards for a touchdown, and that sent the Bucs to Super Bowl 37.
How I will you know, I will never forget that. That was a time in which that was right during 9/11 when all that came down and everything, and
Sure.
the Buccaneers just started rolling through the playoffs. You didn't think anything was going to happen. I mean, I remember that week vividly. I'm hearing all the press conferences and everything. All I could think to myself is, I don't see. I as much of a diehard fan as I am, I just don't see them winning. But little did I know how good that defense was back in the past. And now the Buccaneers, they have a pretty good defense again.
Yeah, they do. We saw what they did to the Saints last week. It was very, very impressive. They forced Drew Brees into 3 interceptions and harassed the Saints all day. So that's the kind of effort they're going to need this week against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay
Packers. Yeah, and as I'm looking up the stats from the game, 190. They limited Brees 190 yards passing on the in the air, 104 yards on the ground, less than 300 yards on the day. And you know what? The only thing they can do is get better, because I'm hearing word now that a guy has come off of IR and may play this week. Give us a little bit backdrop of what's happening with that.
Yeah, the big man Vita Vea broke his ankle. Let's see, how long ago? It was like 3 months ago. So they put him on the reserve to return list. Hey, we hadn't heard anything about Vita Vea. The next thing you know, coach was talking about seeing him working out. Then they activated him from the injured reserve list. and practiced today on Thursday. He's good to go on Sunday. Now, I don't know how many snaps he's going to play, but I'll take 20 to 25 from him on that defensive side. It'll really help shore up the run. Green Bay has a great rushing attack, as we all witnessed on last weekend when they rushed for crazy.
Those things let's not talk about those because some things we should be left unsaid.
Yes, absolutely.
Tom Brady. I mean, this is a guy that just gets finer. What's the old saying? Gets finer with wine, or I don't know what the old saying is, but man, the longer this guy plays, I mean, it just seems he just keeps getting better and better and better.
I don't think he's ever had the weapons at his disposal that he has here with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. When you have a Mike Evans, a Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown. Brown's a little banged up right now. He injured his knee in the New Orleans game. So he's going to get game time decision on Sunday in Green Bay. But even if they don't have Antonio Brown, this receiving core is very, very deep. They have Scotty Miller, who can do some things, stretch a defense. And they also have this rookie out of Minnesota, who, of course, is used to playing in cold weather. Tyler Johnson, he can do some remarkable things, too. So they're loaded at receiver. I'd love to have Antonio Brown for this game. If he's not at 100%, you got to go with Scotty Miller. And the youngster, Tyler Johnson. So I'm looking for this. Should be a great game because Green Bay's playing really well right now, and so are the Bucs.
Tell me a little bit about this Tyler Johnson guy. This is somebody I never heard of.
Oh yeah, he's one of their draft picks. He's out of Minnesota. He doesn't play a lot because the top three receivers obviously are Evans, Godwin, and Antonio Brown. But when he does get in the game, he made a big catch on a 3rd and long in the New Orleans game, and people go, who's 18? That's Tyler Johnson, rookie out of Minnesota. He's been impressive at practice, and they love him. They like him a lot here in Tampa Bay. So keep an eye on number 18, man. He's, I think he's going to be a big hero this week.
How sickening was it to watch the game play out and Jameis Winston throw a touchdown pass in that game?
That was pretty crazy, and that is something that should have never happened with the defense. We have 4 guys on Alvin Kamara. Now, I know Alvin Kamara is great, but he doesn't deserve 4 guys.
No.
Break down on the cover. And it left the receiver wide open for the Green Bay Packers for the touchdown. Jameis was probably nervous he was going to miss it. He was so wide open.
And I noticed a moment after the game, Jameis and Drew Brees had a little conversation, and I was reading the lips, and I thought he was saying. So we got the pleasure to work for you, but come to find out later on, he says that this is your team now, which means probably that he's probably going to take over next year because it looks evident that Drew Brees is going to retire. All right, so we're going. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to. So I'm going to. Let's see. I'm going to drop that off right now because we have some audio trouble. So we apologize for that. So, but that was my conversation I had with my good friend Ronnie Night Train Lane from 620 WDAE and of course 95.3 Buccaneer Radio Network. Gentlemen, they always loves talking about the Buccaneers, whether it's hot, cold, outside, or inside, wherever it may be. We know him as the JBB, Mr. James Britt Buck Wilson. Actually, it's JBB. Or no, here's how I gotta introduce you from now on. J the double BW. You know?
You know, I like that actually. I am down with that absolutely. How are you, Animal? It's
I'm
great to
doing
be here.
I'm doing okay. I'm been getting ready for the big game coming up this weekend. Bucks, the Packers, and Green Bay, Wisconsin, and James Buck Wilson joining me as well as we kind of break down this game a little bit. And I gotta tell you, man, my boys had me scared for a while there Sunday.
Ooh, yes. You know what? A lot of people going into this game were like, we were all very realistic, I think, actually, because you know the Saints had handled their business so well when they came to Raymond James that we were worried. We were absolutely worried, and I know a lot of people, some of my good friends, pointing out that it's hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 year, and for a long time. It did look like it was going to be one of those slow strangulations.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, and I was commenting to somebody last week about that on last week's show that to beat a team 3 times in a row is it really does not happen quite a lot, and I kind of got the feeling that maybe this might be one of those games. Maybe it's in the Bucks' favor, but James, come on, they had me going. James.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when we look at the opportunities that the Buccaneers had at certain times, the dropped passes, I think it was absolutely awful when you sort of. And one of the things that I said, because I did actually a pre-game show, and apparently I have the gift of prophecy, but maybe the football gods heard what I had to say and just wanted to torture me. But one of the things that I said in the pre-game show was absolutely, we cannot drop passes. We're one of the highest teams in the league. When Tom Brady's throwing you the ball, you cannot drop it. There was some unlucky plays as well. There was some bizarre officiating.
Oh.
Now, I'm going to say 2 things. Firstly, I'm going to say, you know what, like, I will sort of toot my own horn and say I did predict that this was going to be a very, very close game and we wouldn't know the winner until the 4th quarter. I'm glad it worked out the way that it did in the end, but for goodness sake, it was nerve-wracking watching. It looked like it was going to be the Saints that was going to pull away a heartbreaking win. But you know what? The officiating in the game, I said to a lot of people, and guys watching this as well, tell me if I'm way off mark or tell me if you agree with me. Now, the Referee Association is very, very aware that several high-profile blown calls have been blamed for the Saints being eliminated pretty much every time they play a playoff game in New Orleans. Now, obviously, that completely forgets the fact that, the Saints had chances to win those games before and after the decision. But, everybody remembers the blown decisions. So here we have a high-profile game in New Orleans. It's a playoff game. The poster boy, Tom Brady, for the cheap penalty is playing opposite. The script has already been written by many fans going, you know what, yes, the referees are going to throw the game in favor of Tom Brady and the refs are going to screw the Saints again. So, do I believe that they were taking part in a conscious conspiracy against the Buccaneers? No, I don't.
No.
I just think that they were all very, very acutely aware that, if there is a benefit of any doubt, you give it to the team in black. You give it to the home team every single time. That way, if they do lose, then, the Referees Association is off the hook, at least this year. But yeah, there was some absolutely terrible officiating where, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, the salt that was coming from them throughout the game.
Oh, I think they wanted Brees to win. I think they were rooting for Brees.
Oh yeah, they were absolutely.
I think they were absolutely rooting for Brees. And I again, I apologize for the bad audio with my previous guy and Ronnie Night Train Lane. Gotta get that fixed sometime. But we were commenting on it, and I do have his jersey on, but I just felt insulted with the fact that Jameis Winston threw a touchdown.
You know what? Fair play to him. He,
Oh
you know what?
yeah,
He
no
did
doubt,
the thing.
no doubt.
That was his Super Bowl. He did the thing, and
Yeah.
you know what? Like, I noticed. Obviously, I was watching with when you were speaking to Night Train Lane there, and you brought up the "This is your team now" to Jameis Winston. I don't think Jameis Winston stays because you know what? Let's be honest, when he came to the Buccaneers, because they had the first overall pick, which means the previous year they were the worst team in football. They wouldn't be much better for the next 3 years. Now, the Saints have to jettison. Now, bearing in mind, Brees is retiring, so they've got like 23 million dead hit against that cap. You know what? They've got to jettison another 100 million off that roster in salary cap just to be compliant. That's not signing free agents. That's not signing draft picks. That's just to be compliant.
Oh, so your feeling is that because of salary cap implications that he doesn't think they're going to be back. I don't know. I mean,
I think they have to blow it up in NOLA.
I think what they're going to have to do is renegotiate his contract. I think that's what they're going to have to do down the stretch with him because you know, Tyler, the other guy, I forget the other quarterback's name. And
Taysom Hill, yes.
Taysom Hill, who I think is
he's on over 10 million, you know. Taysom Hill's on over 10 million. But
oh, wow.
This is the thing, the reason why I don't think Jameis Winston stays in New Orleans. Maybe Sean Payton makes him a promise that he's going to be the guy, he's going to be the franchise quarterback, he's going to be the guy that this team is built around. But I think if any other established team comes in, I think Jameis takes his shot there. Because does Jameis Winston really want to be part of a rebuilding effort again? Does he want to be the fan scapegoat for a team bereft of talent in some places, struggling? No, I don't think he does. I think he's seen everything he wanted to see right here. And I don't think he stays in New Orleans. I think they blow it up there because of the salary cap crunch that they're facing. I don't think Jameis Winston stays. I think that touchdown pass that he threw, let's be honest, it would have been very, very bad if he hadn't have connected on that pass. He had a choice between throwing to one guy who was triple covered and one guy who there was a record amount of space around. I'm not joking, by the way, or like being sort of exaggerating my point. When that pass was caught, there was no defender within 10.3 yards. That is the most space ever given to a receiver in an NFL playoff game. That's on a touchdown pass. Right. It's that ridiculous. So if Jameis doesn't make that throw, he looks ridiculous. So you know what? It's a great advert because he can turn around and say, listen, you know what? I came into a game here. This is my body of work. You can see the accuracy. Maybe they don't want to show all the passes because some of those things in the season were a little bit wobbly. But you know what? The guy hasn't played for a while. Maybe he's rusty. He can show them that nice deep touchdown on the gadget play. And you know what? He's got a body of work behind him. He hasn't just sort of been kept off the field. He has seen the field twice or three times this year. I think if he's offered a shot on a competitor that just needs a quarterback, then you know what? He could well go there. Now, one rumor though that, and I know we're not here to do rumors, so I'm going to say this, and then let's just fly past it. One rumor that seems to just not die is Jameis Winston to Pittsburgh, because a lot of people have said this is Big Ben's last year, and we remember when he was let go by the Bucs, there was a persistent rumor that the Pittsburgh Steelers had made an offer. Instead, Jameis preferred to go to New Orleans for his chance probably at a Super Bowl. Let's be honest, Pittsburgh were not very good last year. So, you know, it's a rumor that just won't go away. If Big Ben does retire, you know what? Jameis might be a fit there. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a smart move. I mean, we know that you know, Big Ben is
It's falling apart. Let's be honest.
yeah. I mean, it really is falling apart. What I'm doing here is I'm trying, because you talk about the salary cap, and I was going to try and take a look at the list of teams and their salary cap as it is right now, and I couldn't find it. But nevertheless, I mean, I mean,
Allow me.
it's crazy. You know,
You know, the issue that I have with, I think, I'm just thinking the best way to sort of say this. The issue that I have, the whole argument around this issue is, and I was saying this to someone, is like, you know, if when Taysom Hill wasn't there, when the Bucs played the Saints in the playoff game, if Brees was hit hard enough that he was injured and had to go to the locker room, you're having to put Jameis Winston into the game. Now, his body of work in Tampa has shown that he can thread the needle. He can make impossible plays. He can extend plays and make something happen. He can make plays with his arm. He can make plays with his feet. The other side of that coin is he has the ability to just completely self-destruct and take the team with it. Now, in a playoff game, the coach has to be acutely aware of both the positive and negatives. And at some point, you have to ask yourself the question, are the negatives worth the positives? Do the positives outweigh the negatives in this situation? And I don't believe a lot of coaches are sold on that, which is why I think that James will take a shot somewhere. And someone, Vince, in your comments here saying, what about...
and possibly Taysom Hill. You know, I found a page that's interesting about the salary cap. Brees is going to take a $36 million cap hit.
It's down to 24 now. He's retired. That's the clause.
Is that official? I don't know.
I believe so.
I mean, I've not heard anything official about Drew Brees yet.
His dead money is 22.6.
Well, I think I saw that here. Yeah, 22.6 in dead cap money, and he takes a $36 million cap hit. Okay. James Brickbuck Wilson is joining me here on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. My good friend Vince Girardi says, "What about Winston to the Bears? They have two marginal quarterbacks, but I mean that's a great thing to have. But I don't know if Jameis would want to go to the cold weather."
You know, I think if Jameis is given the opportunity, let's remember the Bears made the playoffs this year somehow. I know. It's smart. They have the bones of a team around them. I'm not going to sort of sit here and go, you know what, actually, the Bears are a terrible organization and the team plays like an insult to the name of football. I'm not going to say that just simply because it isn't true. They are building something there in Chicago. You know what? I think Jameis is going to think very long and hard because wherever he goes next, he's going to sort of look at it through Buccaneer tinted glasses, because no matter how much work he did in the community, how much good he did for the people around, like the city of Tampa and the surrounding area, all the people back home in Bessemer, he loves Florida. He loves the area. He was obviously a Seminole at the college level. And the community absolutely reviled him in some places. So, you know, he's going to have conversations with his friends. He's going to have conversations with his family. And he's going to be asking, hey, you know, what do you think about Chicago? He's going to be speaking to his agent going, what are the fans going to be like in Chicago if things do go wrong?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point too. And of course, my good friend Jimmy Pratt had to rub it in and saying the home of the Chiefs, and of course, the Chiefs. They're also going to play in the AFC Championship game. And by the way, looks like that Patrick Mahomes is going to play against the team that nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. I mean, that what a great story too for
Do
the
you know
Bills.
what? I love being able to say this because I'm literally like 45 minutes from Buffalo where I live. Granted, it's inaccessible at the moment because the borders are closed. Yay, COVID.
Yeah,
Um,
really.
and so you know what? There's a lot of Bills fans around where I live here. There's a lot of Packers fans as well, of course. And I'm walking around. Obviously, my face shield has this bad boy right across, so people can see my colours loud and proud.
Love it.
So, I get a lot of banter from Bills fans, and I have no problem with them because I actually have a lot of respect for. I've been to Ralph Wilson Stadium. It's not Ralph Wilson Stadium anymore, but you guys know where I mean. And that wind that comes off Lake Erie, it is sharper than a razor
Brutal.
blade. It cuts through you. I mean, I'm equipped for the Canadian winter, and even I was shivering up there, and it is not fun. I mean, imagine the wind getting through this beard as well. So, I've got a lot of respect for the fans in Buffalo. And I've been saying this actually since week 7 to 9. And I've just the conviction has only increased. The Bills are the best team in football right now. Now, are they beatable? Absolutely. Do they make the most of what little they have? Definitely. They are playing to their strengths at the moment, and they are finding ways to stop teams from making them play to their weaknesses. I think that's great. I can honestly see, I know a lot of people are starting to sort of jokingly say this as well. I can see a Bills Buccaneers Super Bowl in Tampa. I can.
Yeah, yeah. Which I can see that too because it'd be kind of ironic. We're going to get to all that here in just a minute. James Double B W Wilson is joining me here along with just short of the animal on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. Josh Allen, who I really love as a quarterback, he plays the game the way that it's supposed to be played and does an outstanding job. And I look at Kansas City, I look at their team, how good they are all the way around, both offensively and defensively. But I also look at the Buffalo Bills and I say to myself, wait a minute, you know, don't think for 1 minute that you guys have this in the bag. This is going to be a closer game than what anybody could ever imagine.
Oh yeah, I mean this is like a Porsche against a Mustang. You've got all the glitz and glamour that comes with a Porsche, and you've got your Kansas City Chiefs right there. You've got your well-oiled machine. It looks good when it starts going, and you know what? It's a very, very nice looking team. Then you come over to your Mustang, and you've got the Bills, hardworking, blue collar, but plenty of power and passion behind them.
I think they actually bring lunch boxes to locker rooms every day. I heard something about that. I heard something about that. Just to represent the blue collar field, So, but let's talk about our boys now. They come to the game against the Packers. It's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy. But they received their boots this week when an old buddy of theirs on the defensive line came off of injured reserve, and now he may be playing this week.
Yeah, in fact, the chances of Vita Vea suiting up on Sunday and having at least a limited role are right now very, very high. From what I've heard, he's been practicing. He's been looking pretty good in practice. Now, a lot of people will think, after a long injury layoff, these guys, he's not going to be in shape. He's going to take a while to come back. That isn't the case with professional athletes anymore, because especially like when they've got the technology that they have access to these days, I can assure you that Vita Vea has been working out every single day, doing something towards his strength and conditioning. You know what? He's been watching the video. He's been taking the mental reps. So, you know what? He is ready to go. He is going to be raring to go. He's had a long break, and it's, you know, time he gets back into the game and he starts wreaking havoc on the playoff stage.
You know, they were showing video. They were showing video of him. They were showing videos of him practicing, and I mean, he looked really good moving around. The knee looks good. I mean, um, and Bruce Arians said today that there's a good chance that he could be able to play this weekend.
Yeah,
You know,
and he's going to be a huge boost to that defense. I mean, you know what? They have gotten better in recent weeks. I will absolutely say that. But when you look at the ability of the defense when Vita Vea was on that defensive line, and the production of getting to the quarterback was actually a lot higher. Now, you know what? Nacho's come in, and I think he's a great guy. He's a great teammate. I'm not sure he is starting nose guard material in this defense. That's not to say that he's not a talented guy who could start elsewhere in the league. Absolutely believe that he could. However, this defense requires a huge demigod standing in the middle, eating up blockers. And that is what Vita Vea is. He will take those blocks on. He will attract people towards him just simply with his speed and power. And that's going to free up like the rush lanes elsewhere. So, you know, massive boost for this defense. Of course, Kevin Minter's now back off the injury COVID list. Yep. So,
let me give you a quick rundown of the injury report that we have as of tonight. This is Buccaneers.com. And wide receiver Antonio Brown did not participate with a knee injury. Talking to Ronnie Night Train Lane earlier tonight, he doesn't think he's going to play. Could very well be a game time decision. Mike Evans has a knee injury.
Heard. If I can just say regarding AB, I have heard to the contrary. It is believed that he will be able to play as well.
Well, it's an NFC Championship game, so I think for him, he's going to play. This is a big game. He wants to play. So he's.
Yeah.
I don't think you can keep him out, but this is the way the injury report is as of right now. Evans has a knee injury. Chris Godwin has a quad injury. He didn't practice. So didn't Ronald Jones. Jeremiah Ledbetter, Ali Marpet. He practiced today with that pec injury. Sean Murphy-Bunting has an ankle injury. They limited him. Jason Pierre-Paul did not practice, and Jordan White. There's a chance he might not play, so we got to watch out for that. Let's see, 5 guys who limited in their playing time. Mason Crosby for the Packers. A.J. Dillon, Alan Lazard, the wide receiver, former Iowa State player, I might add. He's injured, along with a couple other players. So, all in all, both teams are banged up. So, it's going to be interesting to see who wants it more. I mean, make no mistake about it. So,
yeah. Absolutely.
So, as we get down and we wind this down for another great week with you, and my thanks to Ryan Night Train Lane, and of course to Franz Beard. Buffalo, Kansas City, who do you like?
I'm going to take Buffalo.
Really?
Yeah, I think, you know, the chances of Kansas winning the game are fairly high when you look at that offense. What is there not to like? I just think that Buffalo are going to strangle the game. I don't think they're going to let the offense get going. I think Buffalo's defense is going to be fairly sort of close and smothering. And I think that when Buffalo has got the football, I think they're just going to grind it up the field.
Make them work for it. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a game for the neutrals to sort of like, last week's fourth quarter, look, in fact, the whole game, really. I know I'm sounding biased like a homer here, but you know what? The game last week was an excellent advert for football. Two great teams going at it right until the very end. When it was a great play that sealed the win in the end. This isn't going to be that game. The Bills-Chiefs game is not going to be one of those games that is watched for years to come. Maybe by the fans of the team who wins the game and it takes them to the Super Bowl. These are the only people who are going to really, really remember this game. I've just got a terrible, terrible feeling that the game between Buffalo and Kansas is going to be poor.
No, really? You think the Buffalo's going to really blow them out?
I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it is going to be a low scoring game that Buffalo is in control of.
Yeah, that may be, and that doesn't play to Pat Mahomes' advantage. No. I mean, he likes a high scoring game, so I think
it's going to be like 17-13. Yeah.
Slow the game down. Let Buffalo take control. I like that. I like that. I like that assessment. Okay, big one. Bucs, Packers. Something tells me that this is, and I was talking with Ronnie Lane about this too. How the league never really likes a home team playing in the Super Bowl, but I think with COVID and everything, knowing the fact that the resources and the money that they're going to be making off this, it's going to be limited. I don't really think the league cares whether or not Tampa plays in its home stadium.
I think there's going to be a lot of things going on at play here. Before I sort of get into the game, let's go on to the thing that everybody loves. I mean, hates. And it's the politics around the game. Now, which is the biggest storyline? Is it Aaron Rodgers and
Tom Brady?
Well, I'm just trying to think. Is it Aaron Rodgers then facing off against Patrick Mahomes, for example, in the Super Bowl? Is it Tom Brady comes to Tampa and then takes a team from the worst in the division to the Super Bowl at its home stadium? Is that the storyline? I don't think that is the case. I think the NFL has been sort of riding the Aaron Rodgers jock train quite a lot this week. So, I'm sure Bruce has also had a quiet word with his players and said, whatever you do, stay disciplined because these refs are going to be looking to call penalties against us. I don't think it's going to be an actual conscious conspiracy that the refs have to do this. I just think whenever there is benefit of doubt to be given, we will not be getting any. The refs will throw flags on us every tiny opportunity that they get. On top of this, they're also going to have to play in the weather. These are professional guys, and running around, being physical, that'll keep you warm, as my old coach always used to say. You can't be cold when you're running around.
Yeah. Well, and they're calling for snow showers. I know we're going to get some bad snow here on Saturday, so y'all going to be getting on Sunday. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there as well. I'm since you put that analogy in about slowing the game down with Buffalo, I like that. And I too become worried about this game because the Bucs are very slow. They play very slow. It gets them a while to get going, but when they do get going, they play.
They can blow teams out.
They can just play and really blow teams out. So I'm going to put my reputation on the line forever. How much that is, I'm going to be rooting. I'm going to be rooting for the Buccaneers, no doubt about it. But I'm going to go ahead and pick the Bucs. I'm going to go ahead and say the Bucs. Go for it. What the heck,
I'm right there actually with you, Animal, on this because now I know a lot of it was said earlier in the show that it's hard to beat a team 3 times. The players around Tampa, the facility, they are having it preached to them by themselves, by each other, by the coaches. You know what? We might have blown out the Packers in week 6. But you know what? These are two completely different teams. This is a completely different game, different time of the year, different players available. It's not like everyone is aware this is a very, very different game. So nobody is going to commit the mistake that the Saints made, which was a lot of them probably did sort of take the Buccaneers lightly. You know what? They'd whipped them twice in the season, and they were going to do it again on their way to like a Super Bowl for Drew Brees as he retires into the sunset, and that wasn't to be. The general attitude that I'm getting from the Buccaneers is that they are definitely not taking the Packers lightly at all, and they are very, very aware that this is a completely different game. It's going to be played down by down. So, you know what? I'm going Buccaneers Bills for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that as well. I think it's going to be. I'm going to say Bucs and Chiefs. I just think I don't know. I just got this feeling that that Patrick Mahomes is ready to play. But hey,
that would be three. That would be three rematches in a row. You know. First of all, the only team that we'll have played in the postseason that we didn't already play in the season will have been Washington.
But yeah, okay. So that'd be two rematches. No,
so we played
we
played the Packers, and we've already played the Chiefs.
And we've already played. Wow, three rematches in the playoffs. That is very interesting, indeed. Make no mistake about it. James.
So what you're telling me just before we go, Joe, I just want to make sure that, and all your listeners can get this as well, because it's actually a very, very, very sweet thought. So what you're actually saying is sweet revenge, showing that we were the better team after all, and then sweet revenge for that Super Bowl.
There you go. It should be exciting. And as we played the old Buccaneer fight song in the back, I don't know if you can hear it, but hey, Tampa Bay, Bucs know how to shine. I want to thank France Beard for joining me. I want to thank Ronnie Lane for joining me as well. And of course, James Britt Buck Wilson. We stand up and shout. There you go. James, thank you for joining me. Maybe we'll talk about this game next week. You never know. All right, thank you, James. Have a good one. Y'all have a good one, people. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.